unnecessary. My lawyer got Rick to spill everything. It had been going on for over 6 months, and Rick believed he wasn't the first. I asked Judy if I could come over to talk. When I arrived, she opened the door, and I hugged her. Penny came up to me. "Donnie, I've missed you so much," she said. "Penny, I'm here to make this easier," I said. "I didn't want a stranger handing you divorce papers, so I brought them myself." "No, Donnie," she pleaded. "I'll stop. It won't happen again. You have to give me another chance. I'm going to see a counselor." "Penny, that won't help," I said. "This isn't the first time. My lawyer questioned Rick. We know everything. You've been with him for over 6 months, and I doubt he was the first. How could you look me in the eye?" "It was just sex," she said. "You and I are so much more than that." "You and I are nothing now," I replied. "All that's left is a gold ring, and that means nothing when the vows are broken." "Donnie, please," she begged. "No, Penny," I said. "I'm not living like this." "You're being unfair," she whined. "You're tearing my heart out. You love me." "Damn it, Penny, shut up," Judy said. "Mom, stay out of this," Penny snapped. "He's being unreasonable. It doesn't have to be this way. I love him so much I feel like my heart will burst." "Boo, boo, boo, boo," Judy shouted. "You're just like your father, Penny. You act like the world revolves around you and what you want. I forgave your father repeatedly, and maybe you think that's how it should be. But Donnie isn't me. You're a grown woman, so act like it. You had the perfect marriage, and you ruined it. Now get over it. Donnie's hurting too. He's been so depressed. I can't believe you did this to someone who loves you so much. But then your father did the same to me. I'm glad he's free now. I only wish I had been." "But Mom, I'm depressed too," Penny said. "I know I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm hurting as well." "Penny, it's your own fault. As much as I love you, maybe you deserve it," Judy replied. "I agree," Penny said. "But I don't think it was bad enough to get divorced over." "Shouldn't that be up to the person you hurt?" Judy asked. "Marriage is about what both people want, Penny. Maybe Donnie doesn't want to be married to you anymore." "Stop saying that, Mom!" Penny yelled. She turned to me. "Donnie, haven't I been a good wife? I've cleaned, cooked, and given you everything you could want. Why can't you focus on what I did right instead of my mistakes? I feel lost without you. I can't stop crying. I feel like my life is over. You can make us both better. Just forgive me this once. I swear it won't happen again." I left the room without responding. At the door, I turned and said, "Penny, get a lawyer. I want to get this over with and start fresh." I drove home and saw Tanya again as I walked onto the porch. "Hey, Donnie, wait up," she called out. I sighed as she crossed the yard. She was dressed in old denim shorts and a sweat-soaked t-shirt, clearly having forgotten or skipped wearing a bra. "I need to tell you a couple of things," she said. Tanya wasn't as slender as Penny or Judy, but now that I was no longer with Penny, I noticed her more. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she asked. "Sorry," I said. "I shouldn't have. I just wanted you to know Rick and I are here for you. If you need anything or just want to talk, we're here. Rick's still shaken from being mugged, and talking might help him too. You know, helping others can make you feel stronger, but that's not what I meant," she added with a smile. "You know I'm married, and you're not that kind of guy." I smiled weakly, thinking about telling her the truth about Rick, but I realized it would only hurt her. Besides, Rick was probably trying his best to be the husband she deserved after what happened. There was no need to make things worse. "Donnie, it's a cruise," she continued. "One of our clients is organizing a singles cruise, and there are still cabins available. 10 days of fun in the sun might help heal a broken heart. Who knows? You might even meet someone." "I'll think about it, Tanya," I said. "But I don't think I should date anyone until my divorce is finalized." "You're a good guy, Donnie. Whatever Penny did, I hope she realizes how foolish she is. Let me know about the cruise, okay?" I did everything I could to make things right with Penny. My lawyer handled the divorce, and I went on with my life. I asked my boss to transfer me to another location and explained why. A few days later, he arranged for me to move to our Phoenix plant, which had been interviewing engineers. It seemed like the perfect place for a fresh start, warm weather, and the chance to drive my car year-round. I would leave everything and everyone behind, but that's what starting over is all about. I told Judy about my plan to leave the neighborhood, and she was upset, but understood my reasons. She agreed with me, feeling similarly as she processed Ed's end of life and her daughter's betrayal. She had been considering moving to New York to live with her sister and mother, and after our conversation, she started seriously thinking about it again. I made her promise not to tell Penny about my plans. "Honey, I don't have to," Judy said. "That girl is obsessed with you. She spends most of her time following you around, terrified you'll find someone else. She was furious when she saw you talking to Tanya on the porch, called her every name in the book and cried for hours. She's terrified you'll fall for Tanya and tell her everything, then end up together. It's not that far-fetched, I replied. True, she said. Donnie, you really love my daughter. I could see you trying to figure out how to get her back the other day, but I'm glad you couldn't. She's my baby, and I love her, but I love you too, Donnie. We both know what she's like. At least when this is over, you'll have a friend in Arizona, and I'll have someone in New York. Promise me we'll stay in touch, she said. I don't have a choice, I said. I've only loved 2 people, and one doesn't love me back. You're all I have left. I appreciated Judy telling me about Penny following me. I started keeping an eye on her whenever I went out. One night, I went to a movie and saw her watching me in the parking lot. I decided to have some fun. I pretended to wait for someone, bought a ticket through the app, and then called Judy to let Penny know I had a date. Penny stormed out of her car and headed toward me, but I quickly went inside, got my ticket, and slipped into the theater just as she arrived. She couldn't find me, and with 15 movies playing, she had no idea which one I was watching. 2 hours later, I walked out and pretended to say goodbye to someone. Penny appeared furious. Cut the crap, Donnie, she snapped. You went to the movies alone. I've been following you since you left. Get used to it, Penny, I said. I won't always be alone. Sooner or later, I'll meet someone I want to be with. You've already met her, dummy. She looks just like me, Penny said. You just need to get over my one little mistake. I laughed and walked away, realizing Judy was right. I trusted Judy not to tell Penny my plans, but I still needed to leave town without Penny knowing where I was going. The solution came from an unexpected source. The next day, I heard a knock at the back door. When I opened it, there stood Rick, looking as nervous as ever, like he didn't belong there. Tanya was watching from their porch, smiling. I didn't want to come, Rick said, but she made me. He glanced over my shoulder at Tanya. Come on in, I said loud enough for her to hear. I did everything you asked, he said nervously, and I'm grateful you didn't tell Tanya. But if she hadn't made me come, I would have called you anyway. We have a problem. We don't have anything in common, I replied. True, he said, but we both want to protect Tanya. And we both have issues with your ex. Penny's threatening to tell Tanya everything unless I help her get you back. She says it's not fair for one of us to keep our marriage if we've both been cheating. She's blackmailing me into spying on you and pressuring you to take her back. I just stared at him, realizing I could use this situation to my advantage. Rick, do it, I said. He looked at me confused. Does Penny know about the cruise Tanya organized for me? I asked. I don't think so, he replied. That's your info to give her, I said. Tell her about the cruise. It'll keep her occupied for a while, especially if you suggest there's a chance we might talk on the ship since we'll be stuck together. All right, he agreed. I'll do anything to save my marriage. Good, you can go, I said. The next day, Tanya called me. Donnie, Penny somehow found out about the cruise. Should I book her on the wrong one or put her in a room close to yours? She asked. Tanya, make her pay full price, I said. You'll be helping me more than you know. Are you two back together? She asked. No chance, I said. But why? What are you so mad about? She cheated on me, Tanya, I said sadly. I walked in and caught them. There was no mistake. We're done. I just need to get away. In the following days, I prepared for the move, looked at houses, contacted moving companies, and called the new office in Phoenix. I still talked to Judy every day, but the saddest day before I left was when Judy moved to New York. I stopped by to say goodbye, and Penny was there. She had been so busy preparing for the cruise that she hadn't followed me around lately. She smiled as she opened the door. I miss you so much, honey, she said. I ignored her and went straight to Judy. She hugged me tightly. I wish you'd hug your wife like that, not my mom, Penny said. It's probably good mom's moving to New York. I think you're confused about who you care about. Judy and I laughed. Penny was taking Judy to the airport. I said goodbye and promised to call Judy every day. I wish you'd call me, Penny said. You know you're wasting your time with this divorce. By the time we get to court, you'll forget why you wanted it. I noticed you withdrew a large amount of money from our account, but I didn't say anything because I did the same. Funny coincidence, huh? I just walked away. She was so happy, acting like we were going on a second honeymoon, not realizing we'd be on the same cruise but not together. The thought of me being with someone else on the cruise never crossed her mind. 3 days later, I was ready to leave. Tanya had everything set up for the cruise. Just before the ship left, I called Penny. "Penny, I won't be home for about 10 days, I told her. "If you need anything about the divorce, talk to my lawyer." "Thanks for letting me know," she said cheerfully. "Maybe when you get back, you won't want a divorce. Maybe something will remind you how much we need each other." "Not likely," I said, laughing. She laughed too. "Is it so hard to admit you still love me, Donnie?" she asked. "No, it's not," I said. "I still love you. I just want you to love me enough for me to be enough." "I do, you fool," she said sadly. "I've realized life without you isn't worth it. Yes, I made a mistake. But it wasn't about love. Something drew me to Rick, and I don't even know what it was. Maybe we'll figure it out in therapy." "If you like old sayings," I said, "have you heard you can't fight nature?" She looked at me strangely and sighed as I hung up. 6 hours later, the ship was at sea, almost out of cellular range, when my phone rang. I looked at the screen and smiled. Watching the scenery go by, I thought about how Penny might be looking out of her porthole, but I had a window. "Where the hell are you?" she shouted. "I've searched the whole damn ship and you're not on it." "Who said I was?" I laughed. "How can we get back together if we don't spend time together?" she yelled. "You won't let me come home. You don't touch me and you barely talk to me. I'm going crazy. I love you, Donnie." "Okay, Penny," I said. "After the cruise, you can come home, but we won't sleep together." "I'll do whatever it takes to get back in your bed and heart," she said, her voice shaky. "I love you, Donnie." The call went silent, and I laughed as I crossed into another state. I decided to call my only friend. "Hi, Judy," I said when she answered. "Donnie," she squealed. "It's been so long since you called." "Almost 4 hours," I joked. "I think I made a mistake," she said. "Do you know what it's like living with 2 stuck-up old women?" I started laughing. Judy always lifted my spirits. "Stop lying, Judy. Everyone loves being around you," I said. "Donnie, do you know what time it is?" she asked. "They say time heals all wounds," I replied. "They're wrong," she said seriously. "I forgot how much I didn't get along with my sister. She and Mom are so alike now that I don't fit in." I laughed again. "Do you check your rearview mirror to make sure you're not being followed?" she asked. "It's hard to keep up with a truck when you're on a ship," I said. She laughed. "I won't ask how you got on the ship without her." "Remember the cow weapon commercial?" "I had my own ancient Chinese secret," I said. "I love that commercial," she said. "Guess I should go make Mommy's tapioca. Drive safe, honey." I arrived in Phoenix the next afternoon. The first thing I did was unload my Mustang into the garage. I was relieved it wouldn't face cold winters again, even if I didn't think about the heat and potential sun damage. Over the next few days, I settled in and got everything set up in my new home. The house was beautiful, but it didn't feel like a home, just a place. The day before I was supposed to start my new job, my cell phone rang. Without looking, I picked it up. "Where are you?" she hissed. "Why is all your stuff gone? You said I could come home and now the house is empty." "You're home, aren't you? Isn't that what you wanted?" I said. "You know that's not what I meant," she hissed. "I don't want an empty house. This is almost as bad as the divorce you're pushing for." "Don't worry about the divorce," I said. "Without proof, my lawyer told me I was screwed. I was at your mercy, so the divorce over your affair with Rick is off." "Good," she said, relieved. "Now where are you? I'll come to you." "I filed again," I said. "This time, I'm not going to be so nice." She laughed. "Does it matter why you filed?" "Call your lawyer, Penny. He already has the papers. Not only will I get the divorce, but I'll also leave you with almost nothing. And by the way, I'm changing my number tomorrow." An hour later, Penny called back. "Okay, Donnie, you win. I signed the papers. How did you get the video?" "I hired a private investigator to take my place on the cruise. I knew you'd act on your desires if I wasn't around. I set you free. I never even watched the video." "Thank you for proving me right about you, Donnie." "I can change," she said. "I don't think you can," I replied, "and honestly, you shouldn't. You're free now to do whatever you want. I'm free too, to find someone who'll love me the way I need." "Donnie, you don't understand," she cried. "It's me. My father loved my mother more than anything, but he still cheated. It didn't mean anything. It was just Zex. They were in love, and that's why she couldn't let him go. You and I are the same. You'll miss me, and when you do, I'll be here. But I'll make you regret putting me through this." 3 weeks later, I was still calling Judy daily. I noticed a sadness in her voice. "Okay, Judy, what's wrong?" I asked. "I'm fine," she said. "Just a little out of sorts." "Judy, don't take this out on someone who doesn't know you. Tell me what's really wrong." "Donnie, moving here was a mistake," Judy said. "I spent most of the money from selling the house on taxes and improvements. and now I'm stuck. I only have Ed's pension, which covers my expenses, but it's not enough to move again or buy another house. I thought moving in with family would be great, but I guess I just didn't want to be alone after 20 years of living with someone. At least you still have family to live with, I said. Oh no, she replied. That's not an option. You have no idea what Penny's been up to since you divorced her. No, I don't, I said. But I wasn't talking about her. Why don't you come live with me? I have plenty of space, and I'd love to have you. Donnie, are you crazy? She asked. I can't live with you. You're my daughter's ex-husband. Not anymore, I said. Come visit, and if you don't like it, you can always go back to New York. Okay, she agreed. How about a week's visit? I want to make sure you're okay. I've been visiting Penny in your old house. Well, do you recognize it? Judy came to stay with me for a week, and she had so much fun that she didn't want to leave. We did everything together, sightseeing, shopping, and turning my house into a home. By the end of the week, I dreaded her leaving. The morning she was supposed to go, she made me breakfast and asked why I looked so down. Our week's over, I said. I'm going to miss you. Can you come back soon? No, she said. And honestly, Donnie, I don't think you really want me to. Judy, you're my best friend. Of course I do. Don't you want to come back? No, she smiled. Because if I come back, it means I left. And I don't want to. I smiled and hugged her tightly. We both knew something was happening, but neither of us was ready to admit it. The next morning, she made me breakfast again. I can't send you to work on an empty stomach, she said. And I'm taking you to work today. I need the car to go shopping. Are you sure you don't want to drive the truck? I asked. She stuck out her lower lip and held out her hand. For some reason, it didn't bother me to let her drive my Mustang, something I never let Penny do. I handed her the keys, and her smile made my day. After breakfast, we drove to my office. I expected her to leave, but she came in with me, looked around, and even met my secretary. Then she led me to my inner office. So why haven't you slept with her yet? She teased. She's not my type, I said. Judy laughed and said she'd pick me up after work. That evening, we grilled steaks and watched the sunset. I noticed she hadn't just gone shopping. She'd also decorated the house with little touches that made it feel more like home. Over the next few weeks, things progressed slowly but steadily. We spent evenings together, taking long drives, photographing landscapes, going to movies, or trying new restaurants. But most of all, we enjoyed quiet nights at home. I often suggested we go out because I was afraid of what might happen if we spent too much time alone together. About 5 months later, on Judy's birthday, I wanted to make it special. I bought her a diamond necklace and made reservations at a fancy restaurant. We had a wonderful dinner, and a violinist serenaded us with "Happy Birthday." When I gave her the necklace, her eyes lit up and she asked me to put it on her. As I did, I noticed her smiling and pointing behind me. I turned and saw the waiter standing there ready to serve us. The waiter said, "I was just saying, sir, that your wife is the most beautiful woman here." "You're right about that," I replied. "Donnie, you should thank him, silly," Judy giggled. "Or at least correct him. He thought we were married." "I couldn't thank you enough," I said. "That would mean I had something to do with you being so beautiful." And I didn't correct him because I don't mind if people think we're married. "Ready for dessert?" "Yes," she said. "Can we take it home and eat it there?" Hearing her call it home instead of your house warmed my heart. When we got back, it felt like the perfect end to a wonderful night. It was strange, but at 30, I realized I didn't need anything else to be happy. When we got home, we made love, then showered and collapsed into bed. "I love you, Judy," I said. 5 months, she said. "I can't believe we've been doing this for 5 months." "We wouldn't have lasted this long if we were the type to just jump into bed with someone," I said. "Maybe not," she laughed. "But we're both the type to love deeply and exclusively." The next night, when I got home, dinner was ready, and she had something else planned. "I wanted to make sure last night wasn't a fluke," she laughed. We made it a rule not to mention Ed or Penny. The past was behind us, and we focused on the future. We had so many good times together that there was no room for the past. We did a lot of things together for the first time, but we never talked about marriage. It just never came up, even though everyone assumed we would. That was until the past caught up with us. Our mistake was moving Judy's belongings from New York to Phoenix. Penny went looking for her mom, and her grandmother and aunt, unaware of the situation, gave her our address. That's when the trouble started. One Saturday, I went out to buy supplies for a barbecue. While I was gone, Penny showed up at our porch. Judy had no choice but to let her in, hoping I'd be gone long enough to get rid of her. Penny quickly realized Judy wasn't living alone, and that her housemate was likely a man. Judy confirmed it and agreed to meet her for breakfast the next morning. Penny drove off, but got lost and saw my car on her way out. Judy decided to wait until we had relaxed a bit before telling me the bad news. As we were grilling steaks and getting ready to relax, we noticed someone peeking over our 6-foot fence. Penny's eyes went wide and she started screaming. We let her in. "I can't believe you two," she yelled. "Especially you, Mom. What would Daddy think?" "Penny, we're not married anymore," I said. "So what are you doing here?" "I came to find my mother," she said. "I was hoping she knew where you were. I need help." "What kind of help?" I asked. "I've lost almost all the money you left me, and I'm about to lose my house. I was hoping you'd give me another chance. I realize how stupid I was," she said sadly. "I'm sorry, Penny, but there's no chance," I said. "You can't fight nature." "Yes, you can," she insisted. "If you want it badly enough, you can do anything. I swear I've changed." "I was talking about Judy's nature and mine," I smiled. "It's in our nature to fall in love and stay that way forever. We can't fight it. But since you're our daughter, we'll help with the house. Go home and I'll put some money in your account, but you'll need to get a job." "Why can't I stay here with you?" she asked. "Penny, just being around you reminds me of what you did, and it makes me angry all over again. That's why I left town. Do you want the money or not?" "Of course," she said. Then she looked directly at Judy. "You don't want me here, do you, Mother? You know that if I had a fair chance, you'd lose. Donnie only agrees with you because he thinks he loves you, but really, he still loves me. He stays with you because you're just like me, and he knows you won't cheat on him." Judy and I both laughed. We'd already talked about our pasts enough that Penny's words didn't bother us. I preferred Judy's kindness over Penny's any day, and Judy appreciated that I only had eyes for her. Penny left the next morning, still angry that we hadn't let her stay, but it would have been inconvenient. Judy and I were happy with how things turned out. We both wanted to be alone together, and in some way we felt what happened to Penny was our fault. But we were content with our decision. Later, we learned that Penny had slept with several men in our neighborhood, including some of our friends, which caused a lot of gossip. One morning, Tanya saw a couple of men leaving the house and confronted them. That's how she found out everything. When she told them they should be ashamed of embarrassing their wives with the neighbor's mistress, they told her to mind her own business and suggested she watch her own husband instead. They hinted that's why I divorced Penny and left. Tanya confronted Rick, who broke down and admitted his guilt. 2 days later, as Penny was packing her suitcases, she had a strange feeling. Just as she was about to call one of the guys, she noticed Tanya sitting in the dark. "I always thought we were friends," Tanya said, tears in her eyes. "We are," a shocked Penny replied. "You had it all, Penny. A beautiful home, a good life, and a husband who adored you. Why wasn't that enough?" Tanya asked. "I never thought he'd find out," Penny said. "I love him, but I couldn't control myself. It's just something in me, like my father." "I guess you can't fight nature when that kind of desire takes over," Tanya said, and then she shot Penny. Tanya called emergency and waited for the police. It was ruled a crime of passion, and Tanya was sentenced to 8 to 15 years. Rick vowed to wait for her and visit every week. Judy and I got married after Penny's end of life. We realized we were all each other had. There were articles about us, especially because it's still rare for a woman in her 40s to carry twins to full term. We didn't name them Penny and Ed, as we kept our rule of leaving the past behind. Judy and I often visit Penny's grave and talk to her. It's sad and tragic when someone dies, and we don't wish that fate on her. Although neither of us had anything to do with her end of life, we both feel some guilt. Both Ed and Penny were sufferers of their nature. It's poetic in a way that Penny couldn't learn from her father's mistakes and met the same fate. I guess you really can't fight nature. And despite everything, we did live happily ever after.